All right, guys, it's Kyle T. Mosley of HBCU Legends. I just made a quick dash like Eddie from the Five Heartbeats from Dr. Cavill's show. And we are here with HBCU Legends. We got some good content tonight for you guys. We're going to talk with Wilton Jackson. He's going to talk about the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and he's there in Atlanta covering the event for HBCU Legends, and also talk about the season ahead in HBCU. He also does a great job because he's in Jackson, Mississippi. He gets an opportunity to be able to see what's happening with the Jackson State team, the reigning champions, of course, and will give us an idea of what's happening there. And also, we have a conversation with Butch Alsandor. If you don't know Butch Alsandor, he is the how do I say? Butch is a veteran broadcaster, but he also is responsible for helping out with the new SWAC TV app as far as bringing on the talent and the content and helping them to develop that app as well. And he is an announcer, play-by-play announcer for the SWAC as well. So we'll have those two conversations. First up, Mr. Wilton Jackson. What's happening, Wilt?
What's going on, Kyle?
What's going on? Dapper as ever, like a noob. Like a noob.
This man here. It's good to be here, man. It's glad to be back. Football starts back tomorrow, man. Like, I couldn't be more excited.
That's what I was telling Dr. Cavill. I said, man, this has come by so quick. And I think we were just talking a couple months ago, like, well, we can't wait till football gets back, and like a runaway locomotive is hit us, and it's absolutely here right now.
Yep.
So how's everything in Atlanta so far?
It seems to be going pretty good. Both teams are here. Southern North Carolina Central. You hear people talking about the game. Who's going to win, different things to consider for tomorrow's game. I think people are just excited about the buzz of football being back, but more so, of course, you're always going to get that chatter and that trash talk between which conference is the strongest, either the MEAC or the SWAC. Count on Southern fans to definitely let you know how they feel. And then, of course, North Carolina Central, Trey Oliver, I mean, no explanation needed. He's going to say what he feels. So their fans and their fans are going to, take after him as well. So it's just going to be – it's exciting. I'm excited for a strong game tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you look at both of these teams, it's I was saying they're kind of equally yoked in a lot of ways. So you have, of course, the seasoned veteran and that previous national championship coach in Trey Oliver, who has his quarterback that's been with him. It's been 3 seasons now that Harris has been with him, right?
Yep.
I know he sat behind Davius Richard for a minute, but to have him back and have a quarterback at that level, he's one of the more senior quarterbacks in all HBCU football. What does that do to help that program and advance it along?
Cal, it really helps it a lot because, just like I know in the age of NIL and the transfer portal, you can have a quarterback or a group of players one day or 1 week, and then the next month some are gone. Like I can remember was on the show with HBCU Game Day, and Alvin Parker, coach of Virginia Union, was saying right after that Elite Eight game, he had 13 players that he thought was going to return, and then the week after he had 17 in the transfer portal. So when you think about something like that, I mean, this is the reality. This is what college football looks like now, and not just college football, but just sports in general. Players are no longer waiting for their turn to get on the field or whatever particular sport that they play. They want to play now. And so when you have, to bring it back to North Carolina Central, when you have a quarterback like Walker Harris and a coach like Trey Oliver, having that continuity helps because essentially your quarterback is your coach on the field. He's a direct representation of what you want your program to be. And I couldn't think of a better person with Trey Oliver coming into this season. Like they need each other. Like Trey Oliver needs Walker Harris. Walker Harris needs Trey Oliver. And I think that because of that continuity, those years of experience, those years of him sitting behind Richard, I think that hopefully this is the year that we're going to see Walker Harris really put North Carolina Central over the top. Obviously fell 1 game short last year behind South Carolina State. But I think this could be the year that Walker Harris really takes that turn and puts North Carolina Central where they belong.
Can Harris limit the turnovers? Can he limit some of the errant passes from time to time. When you go back to that Orange Blossom Classic at the beginning of last year, the battle between Andrew Body and Mr. O'Brien sharing time. But when Andrew Body finally got in the game, he took over the game, so to speak. But if he had enough time, it could have been a different outcome. And Harris really didn't wow anybody. And I think he really started getting his engines revved up in the midseason toward the end of the season. But that game against South Carolina State was pivotal for him as well. And I know they brought it on, try to rally at the end of the game, but it was much too late.
Right. No, for sure. And I think that we were talking about that today, making sure that you can play a full game for all 4 quarters. And essentially, I have separated North Carolina Central from South Carolina State. When you look at the standings, how everything fell and things like that, that's what separated North Carolina Central and South Carolina State of which of the 2 teams would play for the Celebration Bowl as the MEAC champion. So I think that last year you saw Walker Harris that you could almost kind of feel that it seemed as though he was still in the shadows of Richards. And I think now, 2 years removed from Richard, I think that this is going to be his time to show the world and the HBCU football community that this is my team. I'm putting my stamp. I'm leading my troops to where they belong. Speaking
of Richard, he's on the staff now at NCCU. So is he really out of the shadows? I'm just kidding. But defensively, I know Coach wanted to kind of fine-tune his defense for the Eagles there. Do you think they have done enough during the offseason to be able to get some transfers and recruits in?
I think they have. I think it's going to be a good balance of both, right? Because I think about the players he's brought in, but then also think about some of the players that he had returning. When I think about the players, I think about, the players that got that preseason recognition from North Carolina Central. You're talking about a linebacker in Max Uren. We know exactly what you're going to get from him. Outstanding linebacker at that position. You're talking about a defensive back in Malcolm Reed, Jelani Vassell on the back end as a defensive back. So I think that with the combination of veteran players that they have, in combination with the players that Coach Oliver brought in on the back end or just on the defense in general, those transfers, I think it's going to be a good combination. And they're going to get tested tomorrow against a pesky Southern team for sure.
Yeah, a Southern team that has some good defensive guys coming back as well. We'll talk about them. But when you look at the offensive weaponry of NCCU, anybody to name, anybody to note?
I think for me, the biggest person right now just coming into the season is obviously your quarterback in Harris. They have a tight end that's pretty prominent that I think could probably see some more playing time and have some more production this year. Obviously, the main running back that they had from last year, he's gone, but I don't expect them to be any short of running the ball. Like, this is a physical North Carolina Central team. They're built to run the ball based off of their offensive line. So I think some of the more players, we're going to learn a lot more about North Carolina Central once the season starts.
Okay.
As far as impact players.
Yeah, and you spoke about the tight end Luke Bracey of Central, and the linebacker Max Uren. He is a pretty good player as well as defensive back Malcolm Reed. How could I forget that young man? He was one of the guys I voted for to be on that box to row All-American team. So those guys look very good. And offensively, the offensive line guys look very good when you have Noah McKinney out there.
Javon Humphrey.
Yeah. So they got some really good talent up front. Is it enough to be able to stop the cardiac cats from Baton Rouge? My dad liked to say, Baton Rouge is Scotlandville.
It is very much, and it's a difference too. As a person who went to grad school at LSU, and when the times where I would go on the other side of town to Scotlandville, there's a big difference.
There's a big difference, guys. Yeah. He spent a lot of time up there, got his 2 degrees from Southern University himself. So the Jaguars right now, quarterback controversy, or I think what Dr. Cavill says, a little gamemanship that Coach Graves is putting out there does he know his quarterback?
He's been tight lips on that. And even at SWAC Media Day, I kind of asked him about it, and he just basically said in so many words, when we put out who we put out on the field on August 23rd, you'll see basically, Coach Graves, you got to love him, man. He has a good personality, a really upstanding guy, but he definitely didn't release who he wanted to start. But I got a feeling that he's probably going to have Jalen Woods out there. And if Jalen Woods is not ready to go, then you could expect Cameron McCoy, former quarterback at Jackson State. And even if Jalen Woods is ready to go, I wouldn't be surprised, depending on how he plays. If Jalen Woods is the starter, I wouldn't be surprised if Cam McCoy saw playing time, because we know that Cam McCoy saw some adequate playing time before. Obviously, Jacobian Morgan became the main starting quarterback at Jackson State last year. So it's no shortage in talent in Cameron McCoy. But I think for Southern, the biggest thing is this running back. This guy from, Trey Holly from LSU, former player at LSU, running back. I mean, dude is like outstanding. Yeah, and I think more so than anything, as long as
he was outstanding in high school, man.
Absolutely. And so if he can, obviously, stay out of trouble and keep his head on straight and everything like that, I think he's going to be fine. And I think that they're going to have another dangerous rushing attack coming out of Scotlandville, because they also lost Kendrick Rhymes, who went to Tennessee State.
Right. So I mean, Holly does bring a different dynamic. Understanding FBS football as well, but he's just a tremendous talent, number one. And I know he had that layoff after the situation, but now coming to the Jaguars program, that could be a dynamic they could be able to lean on and give Woods some room to kind of develop and grow. So look out for that, guys. You got a locomotive coming right at you there.
Absolutely.
And talk about that offensive line. I think they added some pieces there. They wanted to get a little bit beefier and heavier there as well. Have they done enough on the offensive line?
So, Kyle, they've definitely added some pieces. Again, because we're coming into the season, we don't necessarily know exactly what it's all going to look like. But, I was looking at their roster. They've added some people. I can tell you this, they got a lot of height. Seems like I see multiple offensive line, 6'5", 6'5", 6'3", 6'5", 303, 315, 300. So they definitely beefed up the line for sure in terms of height and weight. But in terms of what they're going to look like once they and what they gel in terms of continuity, I think, like I said, we'll have to see what that looks like in tomorrow's game. But they're going to be very pivotal. Because especially if you come out there with a Jalen Woods, you saw glimpses of him getting better and improving in the second half of the season. I think that they have strong offensive line play. Not only is it going to help the running game, but it's also going to help him and give him more confidence to sit in the pocket and or make plays coming out of the pocket.
Okay, now let's talk about the weapons outside. Going vertical is very important. Mark Frederick, he likes to be able to go vertical at times. He likes to send his receivers downfield. Do you think they have the horses with the loss of some key pieces there?
I think they do. Southern has really, in my opinion, they kind of get overlooked per se at that wide receiver position because they've been so dominant in the running game. They still have some weapons. One wide receiver to think about is Darren Morris. He's a 6'2", 190-pound redshirt junior from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's somebody to keep an eye on. I think also Herman Baptiste. He's a freshman at Southern there. And then, like I said, they have people that can catch the ball. It's just a matter of will they be able to get adequate quarterback play to be able to make those plays down the field.
Okay, good stuff. Now let's flip the script. Let's go to the defensive side. And of course, the big name, Mr. Givens.
Yes.
Defensive player of the year for the preseason, but he was the defensive player of the year for the SWAC last season. He's like a mild-mannered guy that's going to be sent to destroy you. So talk about Mr. Givens, man.
Kyle, don't let that personality fool you, because you're right. When I talked to him at SWAC Media Day, and even last year, like you wouldn't even think he was the player that he was on the field. But when he gets in your face, you're gonna know that you took a hit from Kelvin Givens. And so I think that having that continuity, having him come back for the Jaguars defensive line, I think that helps in a major way. Another player to think about too is Horatio Johnson, the defensive back He's a graduate student now for Southern. And I think, when you start thinking about those two, amongst some others that they have, I think that they're gonna be two strong anchors for Southern. And Southern is a program specifically on the defensive side of the ball. They hadn't had any major issues. All the issues for the most part has been whether or not the offense was gonna if the offense was gonna be consistent. And more so than anything, think about how many times we said last year, these cardiac cats, how many games they had to win coming from behind on offensive plays, because the defense played well throughout the game, but they just couldn't score.
Right.
And so I think that I don't expect any major shortage of defense. Even in tomorrow's game, I don't think this is going to be a blowout on either side. I definitely think it's going to be a close game, and it really is going to come down to what defense makes the most plays, and which quarterback I think can make the most plays to help their offense move the ball down the field.
Well, do you also believe that when you look at this whole situation, can the team kind of rally around just the defense being the strongest point this year? Because you look at that defensive backfield, you have the young man Brister and a couple of those young guys are returning. They have veteran leadership, veteran presence. Can they be the ones that really make sure the Jaguars are going to have a chance to get into the Celebration Bowl?
I think that's where it starts. I think that no matter what, in terms of Southern beefing up the offensive line, because what we know for sure, like even going into tomorrow's game, they're going to be able to run the ball. Like there hasn't really been a season within like the last, say, maybe 3, maybe even 4, but I definitely say 3 that they haven't been able to run the ball. We know that. I think it's going to come down to knowing that, hey, we have a defense that in most cases can get the opposing offense off the field in 4 plays, or if not directly on that first full series of plays. They're not necessarily potentially always going to be able to move the ball past the 50-yard line in any possession. Like we're going to be able to get off the field and not be on the field for so long. We're going to win the time of possession battle, right? And so with that, I think if you're the defense, you're hyping your guys up, you're hyping up the offense and say, hey, we did our job. How many times have we heard players say, it takes – the coaches are going to coach, but the players have to hold some accountability to that as well. So right. If the defense is doing their job, it's like, hey, we offense, Jalen Woods, and company, we need you guys to put us points on the board, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown.
I truly believe we'll know about these guys coming down the stretch of the season. That's going to be the telltale sign what type of squad that Coach Graves had. I like the fact that we have Coach McNair is still a part of that offensive strategy.
Oh, yeah.
He's in that room, and what he brings to an offense, just being able to lend his coaching insight. So that's going to be very important down the stretch. How the Cats handle that important leg that they have, like Texas Southern, they have a couple other major games that they're going to have to play from week 6 down the stretch to be able to get into the Celebration Bowl.
Right. And that's something that we've seen the last couple of years, the wacky swag west. I mean, games where you think like, oh, you look at halftime, it's like, oh, well, this game is probably over. And then you look up and it's like, oh, Southern came back to win this game, or Prairie View came back to win this game, or Grambling lost last week, but they just beat Southern this week. So, you know what I mean? Like, so it's going to be wacky. It's always going to be wacky. And that's why you got to love college football season.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about some dark horses of yours that's coming out of let's go with the MEAC first, then we'll go back to SWAC. So some of your dark horses there. Are people overlooking Morgan State?
I think they are in some ways because they have the talent on defense for sure. Shout out to Hunter. My gosh, when I say he can flat out play, I mean flat out play. But
it's the Eric Hunter. That's the linebacker guy.
Yes,
Eric Hunter.
Yes. Eric Hunter. I didn't say his first name, but yes, Eric Hunter. Got excited because I know how great of a player he is. But I think that we've been saying this for years. Morgan State needs a quarterback. Is this the year that they're going to finally have a guy who can like get the ball down the field, because they can run the ball, but at the same time, to win games, you have to have a solid quarterback. And shout out to Damon Wilson. I mean, phenomenal coach. great defenses too. Like, I mean, anytime you play Morgan State, you know you're going to get a physical group. They're going to hit you in the mouth. Uh, it's going to be a tough game. But to win, for them to really get over the hump, they have to have a quarterback that can consistently make plays in the offense and move the ball downfield.
Man, I saw what's the quarterback, number 16, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That guy has a pretty nice arm, man.
Yeah.
And he stood up flat-footed almost and threw a nice gorgeous bomb down the field during practice the other day. So that should be pretty good to see with those guys and how they handle that.
And I think a lot of that goes back to, and we say this about every team, if the offensive line is there with Morgan State, the strength there to protect their quarterback, I think they're going to be fine. But the biggest key for Morgan State, for sure, more than anything, is quarterback play.
Quarterback, which guys, and I've seen it in the National Football League. I've seen it in college these days. People keep on saying, "Oh, why we talk about the quarterback when you can have a great running game?" True,
you still
but
need a quarterback.
You still have to have a quarterback that's going to make some intelligent business decisions for you, right?
Right.
Look at the Philadelphia Eagles. They were was it fourth in the league in rushing, or second in the league in rushing, right? Mm-hmm. But their offense wasn't that great under Hurts because they didn't need him to pass the ball all the time. You know, when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley who's rushing for 2,000 yards.
Right.
Could that be the same type of blueprint that some of these guys kind of duplicate for their offensive strategy coming down the road in HBCU football?
I mean, I think there's a possibility, but you have to remember too, the players that you just named are really great players, and they're also playing in the greatest football league ever in the NFL. So I think that even with a strong running game, a strong offensive line to facilitate that running game, I still think you need a good quarterback, especially in HBCU football and amongst the SWAC and the MEAC.
Okay. Let's talk about the new kids on the block in the MEAC. Of course, they bring a lot of star power with them. Deshaun Jackson, as well as the incomparable Michael Vick. How do you see those two with their rookie seasons as coaches, not just head coaches, but as coaches, period, being able to take over those two programs that have been struggling for the past several years?
I think more than anything, I hope that they have solid seasons. I don't have either one of them necessarily winning the MEAC in their first season because what's going to happen is even if they have success, which I hope that they do, they're going to find that they're going to learn a lot in this first season, things that are going to happen on the field, but then also things off the field when it comes to players, managing players, when it comes to classes, how they operate these things, all of that. So I think that I like to think that they're going to do well. I think that Coach Vick at Norfolk State, I think he's going to have maybe the better season per se than Coach Jackson at Delaware State. And I think a lot of it too comes back to not just even just players and personnel and coaches, but I just think about where Delaware State has been. Granted, they lost a lot of games within a close margin, last year, but they also have won what they were like 2-22 in the last 2 years, something like that. I think that was their record.
Yeah.
So when you think about where that program is, I think that they're still a notch behind Norfolk State. So I give that edge in a way to Coach Vick, his staff, and I think that you're going to see either way. You're going to see a lot of excitement from both programs. They're going to be in the national spotlight, and Lord knows when the two teams play each other, it's going to be on. Like it's going to be on. Two former players, two former teammates. It's going to be everything that you could ask for and more.
Yeah, it's interesting how they're getting some coverage. Some guys who are covering HBCU football never covered HBCU football before because of the star power these two gentlemen bring. So it's good to see. It's not a bad thing. It's good to see. Right. So let's flip the script to the SWAC. They got some new kids on the block there. Sam Shade, Tremaine Jackson, those guys as well as we can't leave out Terrell Buckley as well. What are your thoughts?
I look at those coaches as well, and I get excited. I think that while all the flash, the star power, sits in the MEAC now, I think you still have some really, really, really great coaches in the SWAC. And I think of like Sam Shea. Obviously, we know the pedigree he came from and what he left at Miles and the success that he had. believe it or not, you talk about a sleeper. That's one team that I'm kind of keeping my eye on because Alabama A&M has been in the shot. And let me say this before I say that. The SWAC East is tough. It's very much probably tougher than it is. The SWAC East is tougher than the SWAC West. So with Alabama A&M kind of been in the shadows the last couple of years behind your Jackson State, your FAMU, your Alabama State, Sam Shea has the capability to essentially, in some ways, you could argue that he could maybe do what Chennis Berry did. Now, granted,
Now
I'm not
sneak in.
exactly. There's people doubted Chennis Berry all last year.
Sure did.
For at least
I don't know why.
Yeah. Right, for at least the first 5 or 6 weeks into the season. And so Sam Shea, you know, again, you talk about another coach like Chennis Berry came from D2 to the D1 level. Here's Sam Shea coming from Miles and coming to Alabama A&M. So there's no shortage of a pedigree of success on his behalf. And you have to know that his players are going to take on his demeanor, that tough physical mindset, and they're hungry to do some things different in Huntsville. And that's Shea. As far as Prairie View, Tremaine Jackson, I'm not even a player, but I can guarantee you, if you like a good soundbite, if you like someone who's confident and is going to tell you exactly what he wants to say, whenever he wants to say it, this is the coach you want to listen to. But in all seriousness, though, I think that Prairie View, I want to see them get back to where they were. I know you might not want to hear that. You might want to close your ears because, you know, the Texas Southern.
I don't have like I told Doc, I don't have a dog in this. I'm covering both teams. So
for sure. But and then, you know, when you think about Terrell Buckley with Mississippi Valley, a win for him and specifically for that program is 3 wins or more. If he gets at least 3 wins this season in his first season, and Lord forbid he gets 4, they're in a great place.
I think Terrell Buckley, he's going to help change that culture.
Oh, I agree. I firmly agree.
You know, in talking to Jerry Rice a couple of seasons ago, he said that they needed that cultural change a long time ago. Yeah. And I know the coach shocked last year's coach. He shocked everybody at the end of the season, defeating Florida A&M, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And really kicking A&M to the curb. And out of any thoughts of getting a SWAC representation of the SWAC East. So I look at Buckley, I look at Tremaine Jackson, not as guys that may come in immediately and Shade come in immediately and just take over the whole conference, but I look at them who they're going to put some pressure on people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead.
No, they're force multipliers. So yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I'm 1000% agreeing with you, and I think that more so than anything, when you start talking about the fans and what they'll get a chance to see in watching these games, you want competition. And each year, even coaches and the players themselves, you want good competition. And I think that with these particular coaches leading these programs right now, I think you're going to see a lot of great football in the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
And that's what if you look at both conferences, major Division I conferences, I can't say that, well, other than Jackson State, who else do we say is really going to be a dominant team?
Outside in the SWAC or outside the SWAC?
In the SWAC, we know Jackson State. No one else I can say is really going to be a dominant team preseason wise, right?
Oh, right.
Not until we get into the season.
Yeah.
In the MEAC, who's dominant there other than South Carolina State or North Carolina Central?
Yep.
It's still an either or.
It is. No, it's very much wide open. I think it's probably a lot more wide open in the MEAC than it is for the SWAC. And I would even go out on a limb to say specifically right now, I know this is the season just starting. I still think the champion of the SWAC is probably still going to come out of the SWAC East this year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, there's a strong contingency there. You got still Eddie Robinson. He needs to win.
Yeah.
You know, and then, like you say, Sam Shea can sneak in.
FAMU.
Cozy has to please those alumni over there.
I am sure. Right? I'm sure they haven't forgot about that loss to Mississippi Valley for sure.
Ooh. I mean, think about it. Now it's going to be at the Mercedes-Benz stadium, not
Yep.
Superdome, the stadium in Atlanta, the Origami Stadium, I call it. So, but it's going to be very important that the Rattlers keep striking and striking again. But who's their quarterback?
Yeah, no, that's the question. That's the question that we all want to know. I talked to Cozy also at SWAC Media Day. He didn't necessarily give a starter, which is expected. But at the same time, like that's going to be key for FAMU for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Guys, if you don't have a quarterback, you ain't got much.
You don't.
Sorry. And that's that old idiom from Bill Parcells rings true. You've
Yep.
got to be able to know who your leader in that position. That's the most important position on the football field for our offense that has to run and has to run at a premium level at all times if you're going to be a champ.
For sure.
All right. Let's talk about Jackson State. You're right there. You see Coach TC Taylor. You see those Tigers. You think those Tigers got it what it takes to be able to repeat?
Cal, from what I've seen and just seeing the energy around the program, I can tell you this: the players think that they do. The coaches for sure think that they do. TC is very much motivated, more than I think I've ever seen him motivated before, and that says a lot because TC is he's always been a motivated player and a coach. I've gotten a chance to see a couple of their practice sessions a little bit so far, and the energy that you see. And I was telling somebody this earlier today. You would almost think that they didn't win a Celebration Bowl last year, which
That's
says,
good.
yeah,
That's
no,
good.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. He said it. He's been on the record to say multiple times, like, 2024 Celebration Bowl, what we did last year is behind us. And you can literally see that in practice. I mean, you talk about that defensive end. I mean, the defensive side of the ball for Jackson State. I think that's probably going to be the side that you'll see more. You're going to see newer pieces on both sides of the ball, but specifically when you start talking about that secondary that had been strong in previous seasons, you're going to see some new faces there to keep an eye on. So that's one area that I'm keeping my eye on closely for Jackson State. But as far as like offensive line, still deep. I talked to DeAndre Towns Blue, one of their now veteran offensive linemen, and he just said that the way that they've been practicing, the continuity that's been built, amongst them as a group, it's really going to be the catalyst for how far this team goes. And more so than anything, they truly believe in Jacoby and Morgan. And more than anything,
I think he's gained more confidence as well, right?
Oh, he has absolutely gained confidence. You can just tell, and even the players have said, the ones that I've talked to, his leadership has changed. And the energy behind his leadership is what has them motivated to, not only to block for him, but to really know that, like, hey, if we really stick together and we listen to the coaches and the plan that they have for us and do the things that we need to do to take care of, our 1-11, we're going to be fine. And I think, but more so than anything, the way how far Jacoby and Morgan goes will tell you just how far Jackson State's offense will go. And they have a lot more weapons this year too. Of course, you had Jonas Fortillion, but they added Shamar Savage from Prairie View, another big physical wide receiver, Nate Rembert from Mississippi Valley. How can we forget Travis Terrell? I mean, my gosh, and a whole bunch of other running backs in there between. So this is a team that I feel like, as far as talent wise, X's and O's, they are definitely built for December Celebration Bowl. It's just a matter of, can they put it all together? Can they make sure they're not still living in 2024? And as long as they do that, they're going to be fine.
Do you think they suffer with losing some major pieces on defense?
Yes. In some cases, that's why I say I'll have my eyes specifically on the secondary for Jackson State, because I think that more so the linebackers, I think they're going to be fine. Defensive line, they're definitely, I feel like, going to be fine in that regard. It's really going to be anywhere between linebackers and secondary, because they lost Robert McDaniel. My God, what player and some of the plays he was able to make for the Tigers defense last season. Shout out to him. But those players are gone. So I think looking at what they have and those players that are going to be stepping into those roles, specifically like that safety position, hybrid position, and the defensive back and cornerbacks, that's going to be one area to keep an eye on.
Okay. And guys, please forgive us. We can't overlook Howard University in the MEAC as well as Texas Southern as well. But also, guys, Pine Bluff, Bethune Cookman, they could play spoiler in a lot of these games. But I think really, if you had to look at coaches, I hate to say on the hot seat, but in the pressure cooker,
Mhm.
you got to look at Mickey Joseph. You got to look at Cozy as two of the guys in the SWAC, and you got to look at Coach Wilson. Even though I think he's a tremendous coach, he may not be in jeopardy. But you've got to wonder if they don't win, if they win just 3 or 4 games, what do the Bears do with that program? And um, I know some other coaching openings are going to be available. I'm pretty sure Damon Wilson will find another opportunity, from all his success over at Bowie. So, just my thoughts there. Right. Any last thoughts on your part right now about what's happening at the start of the year?
Cal, honestly, I'm just excited to get the game started. Like, no, seriously, I really am. I think that I think we often say this every year. Not only are we excited, but things appear to be somewhat wide open. I think like last year, FAMU came in as the favorite, of course, after winning the Celebration Bowl. And then, of course, Jackson State would eventually overtake them and win the Celebration Bowl. But I think this year, with all the new coaches, the recruiting that these coaches have done on not only just the SWAC, but in the MEAC too. But I'll start with the SWAC. I'm just excited to see a little bit more competition, because you knew after a certain point last season with some of these games that or at least for me, I kind of knew, like, unless something drastically happens or changes or somebody gets injured, the team that I think is going to win is probably going to win. If it was Jackson State or Alabama State, for the most part, or FAMU, they were going to win their games. But I'm telling you right now, when Jackson State plays Alabama A&M, when the Magic City Classic, for example, with Alabama State and Alabama A&M, that should be very, very interesting this year, for sure.
Yeah. You got a great point. Very good point, man. So we'll see how everything goes, and we're going to allow Wilton get some rest before he goes out and conquers Atlanta tonight. I know those noobs do. I know what y'all do, man.
So I will not be out tonight. I'm on double duty tomorrow. I have a WNBA game tomorrow covering the Atlanta Dream. And then after that, I will be jetting over to Center Park Stadium for North Carolina Central and Southern. So it will be a very, very long day for me tomorrow.
Okay. Well, tell everybody how they can find you on the World Wide Web.
You can follow me on Twitter at Wilton Reports. You can also follow me on Instagram at Wilton Reports _. I do a lot of writing and reporting for multiple platforms. But you can find a lot of those writings, a lot of that reporting on either of those platforms. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, and you can learn a little bit more about me and what I have going on.
You got to check him out. Excellent, outstanding writer. Love his work. He puts it down and puts it together for you. So you can find him on a lot of, like you said, a lot of platforms, like Anscape is one of them as well. Guys, we're going to have Butch Alsandor interview right after this quick break. But Wilton, thank you so much, man. You have a great one.
You too. Thanks for having me, Cal.
All right, guys. We'll be back in a few seconds. Thank you. Take care. HBCU Legends fans, it's Coyote Mosley, man, and it's time for football, finally. After all of these months, we've been laboring, toiling, and trying to find what to talk about. And Butch, we got a lot to talk about, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Kyle. And like you said, man, it's always exciting to get the football season off to a quick start. And the SWAC is expecting an exciting year this year, so we can't wait to kick that thing off next week.
Yeah, definitely. And you've got a lot to talk about being a part of the SWAC TV brand and getting everything together for Dr. McClellan and those guys. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But if you guys don't know who this is Mr. Butch Alsandor, the veteran broadcaster. He's been in the game for a minute. I ain't
That
gonna
just
say
means I'm old, Kyle.
just a minute. No, we're gonna hide that, Butch. Come on. But he knows what he's doing. He and Jorge will be on the broadcast for the 40th Labor Day Classic. And if you've heard his voice, you've seen him around. He's been interviewing people left and right all across the continent, so to speak. But especially in the world of the SWAC. And it's my understanding now you have a pivotal role into helping develop the SWAC TV on air content and talent. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And it was something that the commissioner came up with, and he had a spot. And he asked me if I would do it, and I think that would be great. And basically, what I've been doing is basically coordinating the talent, doing some talent coaching, getting the talent lined up for our games. We have 44 games this year that are going to be on streaming options, several streaming options. And so it was quite an undertaking. But again, it was another idea the commissioner had. And he's like, let's do our own TV network. And Andrew Roberts has worked extremely hard, the associate commissioner. And he recently got a promotion, but he's worked extremely hard.
Promotion.
Much deserved, much deserved. But he's played a pivotal role in putting this all together, too. And I just can't wait to see how it's going to work out. It's something that, I think has kind of been in the works for a while. And it's an opportunity, really, Kyle, to get more eyeballs on the SWAC, if nothing else. And if you can look at some of the streaming options, we're going to be on Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, Google Play, and the last one is on Android TV. So last year, I think SWAC TV was just on YouTube. So now we have a lot of different options for you to watch. And the main thing is, more than anything else, is to get every game, every team, some of that TV time. If you're a fan of Mississippi Valley, you should be able to find your team. And that's the most important thing. We want the fans to be able to keep up with their teams and to continue to support their teams in the SWAC.
Yeah, and that's really pivotal right there, because a lot of times people are like, well, how can I watch my team? It's not on ESPN Plus. So what do we do? Or there was some payroll walls that people had to be able to pay like $20 a game or something to that nature. That can get kind of pricey for somebody, right? If you want to continue to follow your team that's not being broadcast. So to have it now in the palm of your hand, you can be able to watch the SWAC TV as well as those other platforms that Butch just mentioned. So it's going to be very, very great news for you, the SWAC fan, just to be able to watch some HBCU content.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. And that's the main thing, is just to give the fans more options to follow their teams. And, it's in the past, we've been mostly on ESPN Plus, and, that's been great. It worked out really well. But now, basically, this is what you call your own SWAC TV network. So you're going to be able to see every team. I mentioned the places we are. I'm excited about it. I really am. It should be a good thing.
Yeah, I have to agree. Plus, it gives us the opportunity to control our content and be able to own our content. That's really crucial as well, as far as sharing into that revenue stream that's out there that other big name conferences are taking advantage of, like the SEC and the Big 12 and all those other guys. Why not the SWAC?
Plus, you can showcase your talent too. I like to liken it back to when Deion Sanders was at Jackson State. I mean, he brought so many eyeballs to the SWAC to where the NFL had to almost reevaluate. Hey, are we missing something here? And now, if you look at the last couple of years, you're seeing more and more SWAC players have the opportunity, whether it's through free agent contract or just a tryout, or even getting drafted now to make it into the NFL. And so it's opened a lot of doors, and it's basically showcased the SWAC to everyone in the country.
Yeah. Guys, if you haven't downloaded today, do it. now. It's very important. Get that SWAC TV app. Like you said, you can go to those other platforms, but mostly you can go to Google Play, iPhone, download it on those platforms there. You'll have it in your hands. Most people use the mobile app anyway. That's how you want to watch your content. Go ahead and do it. But it's going to be very, very important. Well, Butch, we're about to kick off a major game here in the Houston area. And you have the call on this game, man. And I know you've been out to see Texas Southern. Have you been over to see Prairie View as well?
I haven't gotten to see Prairie View yet. I'm going to see Coach Jackson on Monday. There's a big
Okay.
press conference set up to kind of kick off what is going to be a very busy week. But yeah, the annual Labor Day Classic, always a battle. But this year, maybe even more special. Coach Tremaine Jackson, now at Prairie View, he replaces Bubba McDowell, who had been there for a couple of years. He'd been there more than that, but a couple of years as head coach. And then for the Tigers from Texas Southern, you have Chris Dishman, who's entering his second year. But what I think is really important about this game, it's always a big game, for the fans, for the coaches, for everybody involved. But this year, if you look at the standings, basically, Prairie View was predicted to be third in the West. TSU was predicted to be fourth. The winner of this game is going to have a huge advantage as far as their fight to win the to win the championship in the West. Whoever wins that game, they're going to have a leg up starting out of the gate right away. And it is so interesting because last year, Prairie View came into that game with a 9-game winning streak, and Dishman won it in his first year. So that really kind of reignited the entire rivalry again. So it's got everybody kind of fired up about this meeting. And this year it's in Houston at Shell Energy Stadium. And so Texas Southern is getting pretty fired up for this game. And I know Prairie View, they've been working hard as well.
Yeah. And the fan bases are, I would say, re-energized a little bit, because no one expected that showing from Coach Dishman and his quarterback at that time, KJ Cooper, who we could talk a little bit about him. You guys are kind of rehabbing together a little bit, right?
Yeah. That's an interesting story. I had a knee replacement in the off season and had a couple of issues, still kind of working through those. And I'm in rehab one day at the rehabilitation center, and there's KJ right there in the same place. So I was teasing him the other day. I said, man, you are recovering a lot faster than I am. And I think it has to do with the age difference there. But he's doing a lot better.
You gotta love the youth there, Butch.
Yes. But he looks great right now. And you mentioned it, you kind of touched on it before. He played an integral role in Texas Southern winning that game last year. And unfortunately, he injured himself in the last minute of the game, really. The game was decided pretty much, and he was helped off the field. It was an ankle injury. He's rehabbed it throughout the offseason, and he's coming back. And this young man really provides first of all, he's an interesting story that they would find him at a junior college in Minnesota. I mean, it's just incredible. I don't know if you know, but he's from El Paso, went to high school there. COVID hit his senior year. He wanted to play, so he moved to Arizona and was the fourth string quarterback on his high school team. So he saw no action unless they ran the quarterback power, and they would put him in for that. So he had no offers, really. And so he decided to go to the junior college in Minnesota, and he did get some offers then. He had some offers, but they wanted him to play tight end. And TSU came on the play. He didn't even know, even though he was from Texas, he had no idea where TSU was. But TSU recruited him hard. They saw the potential with his size, 6'4", 230-pound quarterback that can run the football, and they just stayed after him, and they got him down here. And the bottom line is, this guy is still a work in progress. He played a pretty good game last year and was, like I said, played a pivotal role in that victory. But he's still learning the game. He's still kind of a raw component, but all the skills are there. And so they're so fired up about having him to come back and guide that offense. And on the other side for Prairie View, Wow, it's kind of a different deal there. I mean, I don't know if you talked to Coach Jackson, but they got
I have.
70 new players, over 70 new players out there. That is crazy. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that's a
Look,
lot.
he had to kind of remake the whole everything because
Yes.
after the spring, some of those young men didn't want to stay with the program that were from the original, from Bubba McDowell's regime, so to speak. And now he had to kind of remake everything. And he brought in some of his talent from his previous job as well as that coaching staff that's in place. And it makes it very intriguing there because now you have a solid coaching staff over at Prairie View. You have a coaching staff that is pretty much the same from last season with Texas Southern, and you have two guys who seem like they're ready and they're very confident in both of their teams. So I think it's going to be a very competitive game.
They're very confident in their teams, but they both have Houston ties. And Tremaine Jackson's from Houston. Also, actually played at Texas Southern for 1 year before he transferred to Northeast Louisiana, which is now Louisiana Monroe. So, I mean, when you have that close of a tie, man, it makes it something special. It's a little extra special, and you do not want to lose that game. And so that's what they're working with. I think they only had like about 30 returning players. So that wasn't a lot. So one of the big things for Coach Jackson is to build that rapport, to have these guys used to playing with each other. And so I'm sure that's going to be a process. So I can't wait to talk to him on Monday about that.
Yeah. Coach Jackson is a very interesting gentleman to talk to. You know, you're gonna get that grit, that dog. Yes, he said you gotta have that dog in you. So I like it. Of course, you got the stoic Chris Dishman, and it's so funny because Chris back in the Oilers days. This is not the same Chris Dishman. It's a totally different Chris Dishman. He was more vocal and more had a lot more charisma. I was like, hey, I'm just waiting for Coach to just really break it out. And I know when you're in a different role, you're the leader now. You want to be a little bit different in how you project yourself. So it's not a knock on Coach. It's just this is a different Chris Dishman these days.
Well, I asked him about that. It was funny you should say that. I asked him about that recently, and he said one of the things that has really kind of led to that personality change, if you will, not much, but he said his coaching staff does such a good job. He says he's really out there just overseeing. He's got that much confidence in his coaches to take their offense and take their defense and to implement the plan and do it the right way. And he's interjecting when he sees something, that's a little off, but he said for the most part, he's letting coaches coach, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, let your coaches coach, and you have to be able to make sure that your team understands that this hierarchy is in place. But we got one mission, and it's to beat Prairie View. That's what they want to do. That's what everybody
Yeah.
wants to see. Can they repeat from last year? Was last year just a fluke, or can Coach Jackson turn the tide and right the ship and say, hey, let's put this back in the winning ways of PV like it was on the hill for the past 9 seasons?
Well, right now that Durley Hicks trophy is on the campus of Texas Southern University, and so
Oh, yeah.
Prairie View would love to get their hands on that. And this game, TSU lost some players also. I mean, they brought in 40 new players on their end. Now 24 of those were from the high school ranks. The rest were JC transfers, and so they used the portal also. They've kind of remade their defensive line a little bit, so to speak. So both teams are trying to gel and find out which combination works well together. And that I think that's going to play a key role. I know it's an intangible thing, but whoever can come and play together as a team, it sounds like a cliche, but whoever plays together as a team the most and whoever's the most organized when you got that many new players may be the team that wins this game next week.
Yeah. And who limits their mistakes? Because we have noticed over the past 5 seasons, it was whoever had the more turnovers in this game usually lost the game, right? And it was true last year. Even though they played up on the hill, Prairie View just seemed like they were out of sorts from the opening gun, you know.
Yeah,
So
we did that game last year, and Prairie View had some opportunities, but they ended up kicking the ball, and it seemed like they had trouble punching it into the end zone, and that came back to haunt them late in that game. But you know, it's a whole new different thing this year. It's a
yeah,
different ball game, a different venue. I mean, Prairie View has such an advantage, I think, when they play at home. It's such a really nice stadium. They get great support over there. I mean, the Panthers. I'm anxious to see them. I really am. I'm anxious to see how all these new players are going to fit in. And me, I've been already talking to Latanya over at Prairie View because I said, "Get me some numbers, man. Get me some numbers quick, because it's going to take a while to familiarize yourself with some of these new players."
yeah. And I saw that Prairie View just, I guess it's the team leaders, the guys that earn the respect. They go to the single digits, and coach released those numbers of the players for them. So that's pretty unique. That's a different system. So
Well,
he's bringing his own flavor into Prairie View.
yeah, that's the thing today, man. The single digits are the popular numbers, and I remember Dion back at Jackson State. Like, look, man, don't ask for number one. I mean, you can't. You're not number one unless you are the man. So
Yeah,
that's the
right.
thing. It's a very popular thing, and what Coach Jackson and his staff did, they decided to let the team decide who would get the single digits. And so they voted on it, and that was the list you're talking about. It was a list of guys who basically, because of their teammates, they said, "Hey, look, you guys have worked the hardest. You've played the best so far. You deserve this." And that's kind of a cool way to do it, really.
Yeah, yeah. Team voting, team respect,
Yeah.
everything is out there for those guys to know these are our leaders, these are the guys we believe in, and these are the guys who are going to value their word, especially when the tough times happen and the adversity happens out there on the field. So that's going to be really good. Um, Now, you and Jorge, right?
Jorge Vargas, yes.
How long have you guys been in the booth together? It seems like you guys just are like seamless and y'all just know each other so well.
Well, and thanks for noticing that. I've actually known Jorge since I was over at Channel 11, the CBS affiliate in Houston, way back then. And it started, and just to give you some background and stuff, when um, before I became the sports director there, I was the weekend anchor. And Jorge was the floor director. So he was behind cameras. And so we would have conversations about this. He wanted to be on air and wanted to do some work on air. And so we would have conversations about it. He would kind of do some audition tapes and stuff like that. And finally, he just bit the bullet and took a chance. And he got a job in Beaumont as the sports director in Beaumont, and worked his way back to Houston and was the sports director over at Channel 39. And so he has a lot of experience. But I think what works for us is we've known each other for so long. And we have kind of like the reverse of what you will see in the booth with a lot of people. A lot of people have the ex-player doing the color, but we make it work, because when he wants to tap in, he knows that I played college football and played in 2 Independence Bowl games, and so he'll ask me a question every once in a while, and it'll almost be kind of like a reverse there for a little bit. So, but he's a great guy. He loves sports, and he just stays on top of the game. He really does, and I know he has become a really big fan of the SWAC football. It's amazing how and I hate to say it, but this is the third time I've mentioned him, but it was such a big thing when Deion Sanders took that job, and you've seen some of the things that have happened, and of course TC Taylor, he has not missed a beat.
No, he hasn't. Yeah.
He has created his own identity over at Jackson State. They're predicted to win in the East. They're ranked 17th in some of the preseason polls that I've
In
seen in
two of the
FCS.
national polls, it was the AFC, the coaches poll for two different networks, FCS as well as the coaches, American Football Coaches Association. Yeah. So yeah, they're doing pretty well.
Well, what a
Highly
compliment.
respected.
what a compliment to Jackson State to be ranked so high in there, and a compliment to TC because he took over that, and everybody, oh wow, he's got some big shoes to fill. Well, he came in there and created his own identity and created his own winning program, so he deserves a lot of respect for that.
He does. A lot of people don't know TC Taylor is a Jackson State alum. He set records at Jackson State as a receiver. You know, he started as a quarterback and finished as a receiver. But when he was on Coach Prime's staff, he also wanted to be a head coach, and he always made that very well known. And they gave him that opportunity after Coach Prime decided to accept the position with the University of Colorado. So, yeah, TC, great guy, great personality, very personable. You can talk to him, relate to him, and I know he was beside himself that they finally were able to win the Celebration Bowl because remember, Coach Prime got beat twice.
Yeah, that's that second time. It was a drop pass away from what could have possibly been a victory, a
Yeah,
drop pass on like a 3 yard pass. So
3 yard
uh,
pass. Yeah,
Jackson State was knocking on that door, and he kicked it in right there. And right now, as I said, he's predicted to win the East, and Florida A&M I think is second. Over in the West, it's Southern predicted to win. They've got some things going on there with Coach Graves, and of course Alcorn State predicted to be second. But I look at the West. And I think that it could be anybody's ball game. I mean, you look down there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Texas Southern had to redo that defense, but if it works out for them, they got enough skilled players on offense. They feel like they can challenge right there. Prairie View, like we said, it's a new ball game there, but they have some talented players also. So last year they could have been the champions. I mean, they lost some close games. Texas Southern lost some close games. Texas Southern finished 5-6. That could have easily have been 8-3. I mean, very easily. So that's why you can tell I'm a little excited to get this thing kicked off this year and kind of see who's going to do what because there's a lot of expectations for a lot of teams.
yeah, yeah. Very, very close games, like you said, where Southern won 3 close games. The Cardiac Cats, I would call those guys, in the last seconds, and one is in overtime. And he did the Texas two-step over Prairie View as well as Texas Southern. So in the last seconds, right? So it was very interesting to see how Southern has positioned themselves. But I have to agree with you. The West is wide open. But it's going to make it very interesting because you have such parity, so to speak, that it could be anybody's game if they execute well and they're able to get the ball turned over back into their possessions and add extra possessions for them. So it's going to be great to see how this works out in 2025. Butch, I know you're calling games each week. So will you also be participating in the SWAC championship game as well?
Not at this moment, but you're right. Starting next week, I think I have a game every weekend except for one. So yeah, and some of the big games, I'm looking forward to doing the State Fair Classic over in Dallas this year with the Prairie View and Grambling. Mickey Joseph trying to get things turned around there at Grambling. That's going to be a good one. I'm also, be honest with you, I enjoy going to Southern. Going to get to see TSU travel to take on Southern in that one. I'm originally from Louisiana, so every time I go down there, I see people I haven't seen in like years. So that's always kind of like an extra bonus. It's a lot of fun. I tell them right away from the beginning, I don't have any tickets, so don't call me. Don't call me.
Well, look, you got 2 Louisiana boys on here. I'm from New Orleans, and you're from, is it North Louisiana or?
I'm from South Louisiana. I'm from Opelousas.
Opelousas. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
But I have an aunt who lives in New Orleans.
Hilleries down there, down in Opelousas.
Yeah, I went to school with a bunch of them, but I have my aunt lives in New Orleans, so we spend a lot of time there. And one of my good friends, Buford Jordan, who played for the Saints, was a teammate of mine in high school, and in college. We played together at McNeese, and so I have a lot of New Orleans connections, and really enjoy going down there too.
Buford Jordan is a legend still, in my opinion, for the Saints.
Yes, I got to tell you this, Kyle. He was fired up over the weekend that just passed because they brought him back to be one of the legends. So he got to ring the bell and be out for
Awesome.
the coin flip. So he was excited for that. He called me up. He was really fired up about that. So
Yeah,
it's great.
man, that's great. That's great. And he was with the Breakers too, correct?
He was with the Breakers. He signed with
Yeah,
the Breakers when he left McNeese. And
yeah,
I'll tell
man.
you a quick story about that. He was. They had a bunch of these college all-star games at that time. And one that is now deceased is the Olympia Gold Bowl. And I think he was in California for that. And he had told me before he left, he said, I want you to find us a bigger apartment. Because he said, I'm going to wait for the NFL draft in the spring. And everybody was talking about he was going to be a late first round, early second round pick. And he said, I want you to find us an apartment. And he called back one day and he calls from California one night. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. He said, I hope you got the apartment. We all set and stuff, but I'm going to sign with the USFL. And I'm thinking, like, sign with the USFL. I mean, dude, why you do that? Everybody's saying you're going to be either late first round, early second round in the NFL. Why are you going to do that? And he said, quite simply, he said, they're offering me like $1.5 million. He said, I'm a country boy from Iota. I could never spend that money. So he said, I'm going for the sure thing. And of course, he goes into the USFL, plays 2 years. The league goes away, and then he's picked up by the Saints and ended up playing 7 years with the Saints. So it couldn't
Yeah,
have worked out better for him.
you couldn't have. You look, Buford, he was legendary at the Breakers. Used to watch him at the games there. Then when he went to the Saints, it was just like, wow, they have your homeboy right there doing great things for the Saints. It was great to see. So
Yeah,
I'm glad
couldn't
they
have
were
worked
able to
out
bring him
better.
back. Yes, it did. Any last thoughts on your mind about what could possibly happen with the Labor Day Classic? I know you can't, you got to be non-biased, but what about for the fans? Give a message for them, yeah, because I think we need to get more fans in that stand.
Well, and I think we're going to see that happening some. That's one of the things, Chris Dishman also mentioned that. It's funny you should bring that up. And he talked about one of the things he had to do when he came in. We were talking about changing the culture, and we talked about changing the culture within the team and all that stuff. But then he pointed out, he said, it wasn't just the culture with the team. He said it was the culture on campus and
Campus.
with the students and with the fans and getting them to understand and believe, hey, this is not the same old thing. We're trying to do things differently now. We want an exciting brand of football, and you can help us a lot. We need your support, and we want your support, and that's the way he's kind of putting it out there. So I'll be interested to see. It's always a nice crowd for the Labor Day Classic. Always a big crowd. Last year at Prairie View, it was definitely packed. We'll see how it is at Houston and whether or not it'll be an advantage for Texas Southern like it was for Prairie View last year. I mean, they had that
Yeah,
place
yeah.
packed.
Hopefully, man, and hopefully the weather will cooperate because they're saying there may be some rain during the week or whatever, but still, it's the Labor Day Classic, guys. You
Yeah,
got,
you
yeah,
could say that again. We need a nice sunshiny day with temperatures in the high 80s, maybe something like that. That would be perfect.
Lord, we're praying right now.
Yeah.
Well, look, Butch, it's been a pleasure, man. Tell everybody how they can be able to follow you on social media.
Yeah, because of the surgery, I've kind of taken a little break, but I'm getting back into it a little bit. But I am on um, X at my last name at Butch, my last name Alsandor, and also on Facebook and on Instagram. And if you just punch in my name, you can find me on there. So I try to have a little bit of swag content as much as I can. So check that out.
Yeah. That is the great Butch Alsandor. I'm Kyle T. Mosley. You can check HBC Legends out on Sports Illustrated, and you can check us out on all social media platforms at HBCU Legends, and as well as myself at KTMOZE on all of those platforms as well. Butch, man, I'll see you on Monday at the press conference. and we can chop it up a little bit more there. But it should be exciting. It should be fun. And guys, get your tickets. If you're listening to us, get your tickets. Go to Shell Energy Stadium on next Saturday, and it's going to be a great one with the Ocean of Soul against those guys over at PV. They have a great band too. It's going to be a lot of energy in the air, a lot of passion, and let's make sure we have a great game.
Yeah, get your tickets now. Should be great.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Butch, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Kyle. Always a pleasure, man. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.